Hi,
Hi,
everyone. I'm
everyone.
outside.
Hi, everyone.
Thanks for joining us for this month's Golden Oldies show here. And today we're talking about going to work after having a spinal cord injury. There's all kinds of little ins and outs that you need to learn about maximums that you can earn while working without losing benefits, personal things to consider, um, accommodations, all kinds of neat little things. So hi out there, and a special hi to Julienne. We're thinking of you and sending you our love. Okay, Ellen?
Hi, welcome, everyone. I have, there are a lot of different views about working, I think, that go on that we all sort of are like, should we work? Should we not work? There are people that look down on you if you don't work, if you're getting your benefits or not getting your benefits. Where are you guys? There you are. I'm like, where are you guys? I lost you. And I've been, I started out on SSI because I hadn't been working when I broke my neck, and then was able to work during my trial work period, which is 3 years where you can earn as much as you can possibly earn. And during that time, I made enough to shift to SSDI, but then you're stuck by the limitations of if you make over SGA, which is substantial gains. Now, substantial
Mhm.
gains is only for money earned by working. So as an actor, and this often comes up, as an actor, I'll get $500 for the work for the day, but I might get $3,000 for a buyout. The
Mhm.
$3,000 is a buyout for my usage. It is not work that I did, and it does not count.
Mhm.
So that is one of the things to make sure that you can, is it actual work performed, or is it residuals, or is it something else that maybe you're getting? And how do you take that off? So, I mean, we're going to talk a lot about that today, and also impairment related work expenses, which comes off your SGA before it's calculated to reduce it. And so, I have been working for for a long time now, definitely working on
Mhm.
SSDI since 2002. That's when my first SSDI was recorded. And I've had to work it. I've had to keep notes. I actually lost my disability benefits in December of 2022, and they said that I owed them $80,000 because they
Great.
said that, yeah, it
What?
was it was yeah, a little stressful time for me. But I ended up going to a hearing, filing the right paperwork. The judge ruled in my favor, and they now owe me some money because they didn't give me benefits for a year. And also, with the judge's determination, I now have a statute to look at in future cases of what my impairment related work expenses
Good.
are. So in some ways it gave me a safety net to say this is what has to be calculated according to
Mhm.
the judge on my case. So it's been, and the crazy thing is there's different rules for SSDI and for Medi-Cal if you're still trying to maintain your Medi. So
Mhm.
lots of rules to discuss, and how do we, and also looking for tips and tricks from the audience that you guys may know to help people work, volunteer, do whatever they want to live a fulfilling life and have a purpose.
Absolutely. Mickey, is there something you'd like to share,
Well, I
Mickey?
was just working. Yeah, I think we need to introduce ourselves and what our injury is. So, my name is
Right.
Mickie Fowler. I was injured in 1984 on an ATC that they banned shortly after because they were so unstable. Broke my back at T1011, and I had two little kids at home, and I had one 2 years later. So I didn't go back to work for a while. I wanted to wait till my kids were in school. And when they were in school, I volunteered. I was worked in the library, helped in the classroom, and I just wanted to feel useful, even though I was in a wheelchair. The kids just looked at me like, "Oh, she's just another mom." Once they got over the initial, seeing me in a wheelchair, and then I went to work for a CPA as a bookkeeper, doing things like Excel and QuickBooks and stuff like that. And then I retired and went back to Cascalina to volunteer for a psychologist. I don't know if anybody out there knows who Dr.
Mhm.
Melanie Fishwick was. She was a PhD and she was a quad too, so I would do like her filing. Since I'm a pair, I have to use my hands. I'd just help her out whenever she needed to, and we became good friends. And anyway, so other than that, I haven't worked. Before my accident, I was serving as a waitress. They call them a server now. And I was a
Yes.
waitress at the Big Yellow House. Remember that place with served big
Yep.
chicken dinners? Anybody?
Yep.
Oh,
And
Yeah.
before, and then I was at Marie Callender's. So couldn't really do that much very well in a wheelchair.
yeah,
So I had to find something
absolutely.
else.
Okay.
Anyway, so
So
that's
I'm
about me.
Sorry. Go ahead. Okay. I'm Michele
No, I said,
Altamirano, and I was injured back in 1989. Luckily, I had worked 2 jobs all through college. And at that point, I was almost a year post graduating from college. So I still continued to work 2 jobs till I got, my real professional job there. And there were so many things to consider because I am a quadriplegic, even though it doesn't look like it by my hands and stuff. And the attorney I worked with at the time of my accident said I could come back, but emotionally, there's no way. I think I went back to the office once after my injury, and that was it. It was just so heartbreaking, and just the memories of sitting there and 2 days before and all of that. Um, so I was home for 2 years after rehab, just kind of trying to figure out, okay, what direction am I going? What do I want to do? Well, the thing that motivated me to get back to work is that I was bored to death. I hated daytime television. At that point, I still couldn't read because I couldn't concentrate and focus on what I was reading and all of that. And I just kind of like, okay, well, what do we do? And somebody said, well, go to rehab and, talk to them to see what's what. Of course, their standard recommendation at that time was, oh, yeah, you can be a travel agent. That was like what they would tell everybody in the chair. You can be a travel agent. Remember, this was pre-internet, okay? Yeah. So,
yeah.
I kind of went to their little back to work trainings and all of that, and considering what my personal needs were before I went to work. So I had to make sure that I was, my bowel and bladder issues were under control for the most part, that I had steady transportation because I still wasn't driving at that point. Um, can I sit 8 hours a day? Do I need someone to come help me, during the day for personal care and all of that? So there's a lot of issues that definitely you have to consider because there's so many personal, emotional, and logistical issues that you have to look at. Luckily, they referred me to a position at the Independent Living Center. And okay, so accessibility was there. It was close enough to me where, I could either roll back home with somebody or, hop in a car and all of that. And to gain confidence mostly. Because when I went to interview for that first job, I'm like, I honestly, I had never had a formal interview for a job. So I'm, answering the questions the best that I can and all of that. And in my mind, I'm going, I'm not getting this job. I'm not getting this job. Because I kind of sort of did and didn't want it. It was that first time venturing out. And lo and behold, the next week they call me and tell me I got the job. And I'm like, what? So that was my first experience of going back to work. And I had to learn a lot about myself and how I could function now and what, not block, the things that I thought I wouldn't be able to do. I would just open and I would just try to do everything, that I possibly could. And it went well, really boosted my confidence, made me feel like I still have something to offer the world, it definitely helped with the depression from being stuck at home, socializing with people and learning to socialize with non-disabled people after my disability because, in a workplace, I had no idea. So that's my story in a nutshell. Back to you, Ellen.
Well, I was injured in 1983, January 83. I too am a quadriplegic. I broke C5, 6, 7, 8, T1. I have a fusion from C6 to C8, T1 because my C7 vertebrae was completely shattered. But like Michelle, I have 80% use of my hands. I don't know. So it depends on the day. Sometimes they're stronger. I was a college student. I had just finished my first semester of college. I was working at Mervyn's. And for those of you that are young, Mervyn's was the old Kohl's. So if you know Kohl's, Mervyn's was the original Kohl's. So I was there and I broke my neck. I had a chart. I remember having my Mervyn's charge card was super high because I was 18 years old. And then I remember after my mom got me all the resources and supports I needed, Department of Rehab to get me back into school and, access services to figure out how to get transportation to and from school, a subsidized apartment. I luckily got into one of those in college. So I had that, but when I was being interviewed by the Department of Rehab, I was an actor. That's what I wanted to be when I was in college. I was a theater major. I was going to be a theater actor. And I was literally told by the Department of Rehab that was not a viable career, that I needed to pick a different career, that acting remember this is back in the 80s. We did not see people out there, that they would not fund me to go back to school as an actor. Yeah. They would as an artist. So I came in as an art major, except, because people with disabilities, my left foot, we think that are some incredible artist, except that I couldn't draw a stick figure before I broke my neck. And God did not give me any beautifully artistic talents after I did. I still sucked at art. So I became a graphic design major. And even with the right tools, I could not draw a straight line. So eventually I went into advertising and PR communications. And so that was good. Alicia Anderson, and Alicia, I think you have a twin sister that also was a waitress. If I remember an article about the two of you, I might be mistaking Alicia, but and that Alicia in her wheelchair was a waitress. So she shared her days while she was waitressing. She would get better tips than her sister.
Wow.
So that was Alicia, if that. But yeah, waitressing, if the rest, the only disabling factor of waitressing in a restaurant would be how far apart the tables are, because actually you can put a tray on your lap and probably carry 4 times what an able-bodied
carrying multiple plates. I used to be able to stack 3 plates on my arm and all this stuff in the right. And
but if you have right there with little edges, you can stack them all up there, take them out, get them going.
There you go.
So that's good. It's amazing what people can do in the right. So again, we'll talk about the social construct of disability. It's really the environment and attitudes. If given an accessible environment, the appropriate resources and equipment, pretty much you can do the job, right? I was just talking to somebody who was feeling down, new injury, was a mechanic before. And it's like, I don't know if I can be a mechanic again. I'm like, well, I've seen mechanics get the lifts where they can go right under the car, lifts them all the way up and they work in their chair. Yeah. They get a lift. There is amazing technology out there to get you working. So I was at Mervyn's at the time, broke my neck, didn't work. Wanted to still eventually be an actor, but I was going to college. So I didn't have to work through college because I did have, back then, DOR had great support for college. They paid for college. They paid for books, did the whole 9 yards. So I was able to not have to work during my degree. But eventually when I got into my master's degree, I needed an income. Things had changed. And I luckily got a position. Again, working with people that understood disability, I became a one-on-one for students with disabilities in a preschool classroom. So I helped mainstream the students, but I was in an environment where the attitudes were good. Physically, the place was inaccessible. Like they had to pop me up and down a stair to get in and out to go to the play yard every time I was there. Oh, God. It was not accessible, but the attitudes were, and there were people that were willing to help get me up and down. And the kids, again, as Mickie pointed out, when you're out of school, once they get over that, oh, you're different, they're like, hey, can I ride on your lap? Hey, can I push you away? I like you. You're like wheels. So the kids were great. And that sort of, I was working in my acting career continuously, but it wasn't enough of an income at the time. There wasn't a lot. So I pursued my teaching credential. I wanted to get married. I'd met my partner at that time. And we talked about, having secure money, still acting, but, a regular paycheck. was a good thing. So I ended up getting my credential, and then having had the experience of teaching at a preschool and doing enough, I was able to get jobs in classrooms. But even now, like getting around my college classrooms are ridiculous. I can't get to my back tables. I try to find the seats, but when I've got 28 students in a class and 5 tables, I can't get back there. So even in today's day and age, it's not designed to make it easy, but having the right support. However, it took me, I'm an adjunct professor. I'm not a full or tenured professor. I'm just adjunct. I didn't ask for accommodations probably for 10 to 15 years for fear that I might not get classes if I did. So I think one of the biggest problems is going back to work is the continued stress. Does anybody am I making too much? Am I going to jeopardize my benefits? It's just so fearful. Especially as the systems start to squeeze the benefits tighter and tighter. I mean, back in the day, you in a wheelchair, they're going to make sure you keep your benefits. Now they're trying to throw you off for every slight they think you have. So I think there's an additional stress that people with disabilities face in trying to get work.
And I think one of the biggest stressors is, am I going to lose my health care benefits because I go back to work? Can I afford to go back to work? As expensive as insurance is. And if, your employer doesn't offer insurance, or you're only able to work part-time. So there's a lot of those issues too. And I think something that I recommend, if you're still very unsure and don't know how much stamina you have to be in whatever environment you choose to go back to, volunteer somewhere. Volunteer half a day and see how you manage then before you're ready to go into a 9-to-5 job. And it'll definitely help with experience and help you learn what and how you need to do things in a work environment and all of that. So there's a lot of benefit from volunteering. And I know there's lots of organizations who need volunteers. So consider that too.
Ellen, I have a question. When you were acting, were you ever in any commercials?
Yeah, I've done a number of commercials. I've so you can look up The Future of Mobility, which is a Hyundai thing. It's on YouTube. I just did that last year or the year before. There's a great Mother's Day Minute Maid commercial that's called Doing Good that my daughter and I did together. And then there's
I remember that.
commercial that my daughter and I did together. And then I've done a number of commercials. I had a couple of guest star roles on television. I never got a regular series, unfortunately. And then once my daughter was born, I sort of, took more time off from acting. I was and only teaching part-time. So once I got pregnant, I was a regular elementary school teacher for 3 years. And that was during my trial work period. So I was so during your 36 months of trial work period, you can make as much money as you can possibly make and keep your benefits. When my trial work period was starting to end, I was pregnant at the time, and I didn't want to be teaching other people's children.
At that time, right?
And then I luckily got into a position at the university, which was just part-time. So I was only teaching one class, which was well below SGA. So I was able to keep my SSDI. I was able to bank some of the money from my trial work period and then go back to where I was making under SGA. But then as I moved up in my ranks, teaching more classes and doing more classes, getting my SGA below that. What is it? Did you say, Michelle, 1550 this year?
Yes, 1550.
Yeah, and it's 1490 last year. So keeping it below that has been difficult. My mom was really good about helping me juggle and document things, and I will just say document everything. And Black Olive is wondering if Gen Xers are less likely to ask for accommodations. I think it may be magnified just because of communication in terms of one-on-one communication, person communication, or they might be more savvy in terms of asking for it online. I think everybody's a little afraid. I have a lot of colleagues with invisible impairments that have not disclosed out of fear. A lot of my colleagues who have invisible impairments don't want to disclose. They might have autism, might have depression, they might have ADHD. They're fearful of closing, for losing their jobs. Now, we, with a visible impairment, people tend to be more accommodating because they believe us, like it's real. It's
Yeah, exactly.
so it's easier, but
Not thinking-
everybody's hesitant. I would have to see. Like, I'm not sure if
I would
Gen
say
X is more, or if it's just human nature that we're afraid to ask for what we need for fear of rejection.
Mhm. Okay. And one thing to consider also, we were injured in trying to work pre-ADA. So that made a huge difference.
Yeah.
Nobody knew what we could ask for or not ask for, what we had to make accommodations for ourselves, bring our whatever little tools we needed and all of that. And at that point, a whole lot of disabled people weren't working. The statistics show, the big difference between able-bodied and people with spinal cord injuries, that go back to work based on all the, physical and logistical issues that you have to deal with. And then, as Alan says, I mean, keeping track of her earnings and staying within the earning maximum that was a whole other job in itself, just juggling that whole thing, And just something I want to say to people who were actually working at the time when your injury happened. I know people who've gone back to their original job. I actually have two friends who are both kindergarten teachers. And one of them became the teacher after injury, and the other one was already a teacher when her injury occurred. So, and if possible, you can you go back to a place where you already know people and people know you, so you're not having to deal with all that, and sorry. And going back to the same place, maybe you can't exactly do what you were doing there, but I know there's a lot of companies that are able to offer another position that still within the company, but offer you something a little bit different so you can return to that particular company. So lots to think about.
And as Mickie, you pointed out, there's nothing wrong with volunteering either. There you go. There sometimes, and I've heard this from other people with disabilities, like, oh, you're a Medi baby, right? They call those people that stay on the benefits and get their Medi, they call them Medi babies. And that there's a sort of disdain for that, right? Not being a super grip and going out there and achieving everything that everybody else is. Your injuries are real. The world is not accessible, and you don't have to go out there and prove yourself to anybody. If being at home and volunteering for your kids, for your neighborhood, for something, or doing your own art, whatever, doing your own thing, there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
Here's the thing. The world is not freaking accessible. We do not have the same work options, right? I cannot go get a job at McDonald's. There are no, the employment that is actually accessible for people with physical disabilities is a fraction of what is out there for other people. And people have health issues they have to contend with if you're up on your butt too many hours a day. So, people, you could be blowing out your shoulders. So there's nothing wrong with finding the balance that works for you. And I think we have to destigmatize choosing not to go into a full-time profession. It's okay.
Exactly.
Right? As long as you're feeling purposeful and not allowing yourself to get into a cycle of depression, because if you're not doing it because of some internalized ableism or attitudes from your family, that's the problem. But if you're choosing not to do it to respect your body and your time and your focus,
absolutely,
about, good for you.
And I think being out there volunteering is kind of a form of educating the public as far as, I can do this job, and you're not having to, depend on all kinds of, things when you've got your benefits, you're making your little bit of money, and you're doing something. You're getting out of the house. You're meeting new people. You're maybe learning a new skill or whatever that is. So lots of benefits to that, absolutely.
Yeah, you
And
feel
then black
productive.
olive. Sorry. Answer to your question, black olive. Unfortunately,
it's
you
really a
have
good
to
thing.
be deemed legally
Olivia,
visually impaired. So there is a magic number out there that you have to qualify as being visually impaired.
Go ahead, Mickie. No, I'm gonna Black Olive. We just discussed this in my class this week. Why do the blind get $25.90 each month, and other people get half that? Like,
sorry.
why is being blind such a I mean, it is. Transportation is difficult, but if you're in a wheelchair, transportation is difficult. I will tell you, historically, it's because blind individuals got together earlier, had
Exactly.
organizations supporting them earlier, and fought for their rights earlier. And so they were able to put into place better support systems. And we
Mm-hmm.
really need to, as a collective, get together and get that SGA up, because who is going to work for $15.50 a month and lose $2,600 of benefits and your health care? Right? So because if you lose your Medi-Cal, you no longer have in-home supportive services. So I just got a letter of termination this week from Medi-Cal because they said I made too much. And I was like, here's the thing. You cut my in-home supportive services, I'm going to be lucky if I get up out of bed, get dressed, and complete my activities of daily living, let alone work. So you can't cut that. And they're supposed to take off impairment-related work expenses from my overall income to reduce me to that level for Medi-Cal and for I still get my SSDI benefits. But it is a fight and a constant struggle to get it.
Absolutely.
And I literally had to find the statute that showed that impairment-related work expenses were detracted. No, it's not that. When you minus, I can't say the D word, minus from the total, and then I got my benefits back. But it took me fighting it and saying, this is crazy. I'm working and you want to ding me for work, so now I can't work because I don't have the support to work.
Exactly.
Are you really just trying to keep us locked up in home and out of society? That's what I think.
Exactly. Absolutely. Because, I mean, before ADA, they had the Rehab Act that kind of meant, okay, we'll pay for people to go to school, but kind of that's it, And then until after ADA came along, where there had to be accessibility and all of that. So then, people felt more able to go out because now more places were going to be accessible. And, a lot of people going way back then, if you had a spinal cord injury, it's like, oh my gosh, you were like, you were considered severely disabled and not able to do a whole lot of things, And it's kind of the same with the deaf community. They're very united. And going back, way back when, a lot of people with spinal cord injuries didn't survive that long.
Yes.
Some of them, didn't survive at all. Some of them lived for a few years because there was so little known about it and how to treat it, how to prevent issues and all of that. So we're a new community compared to all these other, very organized disability communities. So we got to fight for our rights too,
Yes.
And the more people that are out there, the more visibility we have. And I think, more power we have to be out there and doing something great.
But interestingly, you can't sue the government over these benefits, and you can't even sue a government facility for not being ADA. They are not allowed to be, sued. And it's just crazy. Like, they're protected against the very laws that they're trying to put into place. Mickie, you keep coming in and out. You got what you want to, you're about on the saying something.
Say something. Oops. No. Just to go back.
I was going to say, you were saying about we're kind of a new community in a way.
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Am I going in and out again?
Yes, you are.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yes. We can hear you.
I just say hearing impaired, visually impaired. Okay, hearing impaired, visually impaired. they don't have the issues we have to deal with, bowel, bladder, skin problems,
Absolutely.
things that,
Yeah.
I mean, they're pretty much able-bodied, right?
Yeah.
And our disabilities cost more money than theirs, mostly.
Yeah. True.
Great point. And I didn't even
That's all I
think
have to
about
say.
I didn't even think about, like, I mean, I know blind for transportation. I mean, to me, that would be incredibly difficult to deal with, being blind.
Yeah.
But there
We
are
all
so
accommodate to our situations, though, Ellen.
right, but there are secondary issues that come with spinal cord injury or degenerative disabilities like MS
Absolutely.
and like the skin stuff. Literally, people don't understand. Like, I have to sometimes grade from my bed on my hip. So when
Yeah.
I was at my hearing, the judge was like, how do you have your cell phone as an impairment related work expense? Everybody has cell phones to work with. I go,
Yeah.
you're right. Everybody has cell phones. However, if I'm going to do a supervision and the place is up a flight of stairs, I have no other option but to call them. If I don't
Yeah.
have a cell phone because of my impairment, I cannot do my job. He
Yeah.
said, oh, okay, that makes sense. He said, well, everybody uses a computer now. I go, yes, because they choose to. I have to. There are times I cannot sit up at my computer and do my
Yeah.
work. I have to lay in
Yeah.
bed and do my work because I'm worried about my skin breaking down and getting an
Absolutely.
infection that will kill me. And he was like, I never thought of that. I'm like, so
Yeah.
related work expense is any expense that you have, and it can be useful in your everyday life. It doesn't matter if it's useful in your everyday life. If it, because of your impairment, helps you do your job. So I get pedicures once a month because my aides don't know how to cut my toes correctly. And I've gotten an ingrown toenail that got infected and I had to miss work. So I say, this is podiatry care and I have to have it because if my toes get too long and I catch it on a transfer, I can rip it off.
Yeah.
When I'm at work, the bathrooms are not fully accessible, right? So
Yeah.
if I have to use a bathroom because I'm having a something I can't wait to get home on, and I rip my toe off, I can't have long toenails. So it's really sort of looking at the idea that, what every little thing that you need, whether it's all the time or just some of the time, how that helps you work, and then keeping a track and keeping receipts, because that's so important. Black Olive is just saying that YouTube last week tonight had a great show on the YouTube cuts, and some people got cut off because they got, so the issue is out there. It is definitely an issue. But as Mickie pointed out, these other organizations have been together. You and Michele both said, how do we fight to make these changes? And it really comes to, it comes to voting. Who you're voting for? Are you writing your congresspeople fighting for this? And it is tiresome because the fight is freaking endless.
Absolutely. Yeah, it really is. Yeah, we keep going and we keep fighting, It's just, I think you have to kind of make your mind up as to, I'm going to fight. I'm going to do this. I'm not going to let them stop me from doing what I want to do, basically. Yes, you have to juggle all these balls and play all these games with, Social Security and all of that. But we've chosen not to let that stop us. And, and hopefully more people will consider going back to work, will consider volunteering. Just one key thing that you absolutely must do before you work in a place or volunteer at a facility, make sure the bathroom is accessible to you, that you can get in and out yourself. My previous employer, before I was injured, oh my God, it was down the carpeted hall. The door to get in was solid wood. Oh. There's no way I could have pushed in at that time, much less, get out and pulling it and all of that. So you need to make sure that you can get in and out of that bathroom on your own, because that's, a definite must.
Yeah, and a good point. Not just in, but in and out, because sometimes you can get in someplace and you can't get in.
Yeah, I've gotten stuck many times between the door and the door ledge there, because it's just so heavy. It just kind of traps me there, and I'm having to wait till somebody comes along, or I muster enough strength to, get through that darn door.
Black Ollie was talking about lists of 1977 era jobs. We could be a nut sorter or a dowel inspector. Yeah, we had those great jobs going in there. And Leon
Don't forget travel agent.
Yeah, Leon says that what we're doing now is going to change it. Although they're shifting to be harder right now because there are more people with disabilities. It is much harder. There was it's again on Instagram called the Squeaky Wheel. They just they do little blurbs and stuff. They had one on all SSI applications will be immediately shredded because just because it is like 70 to 80% are denied initially, always, just across the board. So it's the denials. And I mean, I've been doing this for 40 years and this is the first time. I mean, trust me, I get audited every 3 freaking years because I work. If you work, expect to be audited. You will be audited by Social Security. You just will. Just keep your receipts, keep your stuff, get your doctors to sign things, keep it as professionals. This was the first time I was terminated. And I was told I owed $81,000 and with no real notice. Like they terminated you the next month. And I said, well, I'm going to file for a hearing. Do I still get my payments? They're like, no. So I spent a year still working, but losing all of my benefits and then having to fight to get them back. It's stressful. It's awful, but you've got to keep fighting because, yes, our fights now hopefully will make it easier if the system doesn't keep making it harder. I mean, they want people say they don't want to cut these programs. They do because they want to cut them.
But they make it so hard for you to
recognized, right? We're recognizing more disabilities. It's like Disneyland. Disneyland used to have decent policies for people with disabilities. Now nobody can get the dog pass. They've gotten so strict that screw you unless you're in a bed, and even then they'll be like, no, sorry, your family can wait in line for you, and then we'll transfer you
then
on.
you join them. It's crazy.
And then you can. So I mean, people are getting, I don't know, I think in difficult times or in stressful times, systems are not.
Do you think part of it could?
Go ahead, Mickie.
She keeps freezing.
Do you think part of it could be? Do you think there's a lot of fraud out there, so now they're a little more leery?
I think fraud is a lot less than they think. I know I had a lot of friends that worked in advocacy with in-home supportive services, and they kept thinking fraud. It was literally less than 1%. So I think that there is fraud out there. Don't doubt me. There are people that will get placards that don't need them, that will get DOS passes that don't need them, that will try to get the benefits that don't really qualify. But I think it's less than 5% max, right? I think it's a lot less than what people think. I think that most people, I like to believe in the goodness of most people, are getting the benefits they need and deserve, the benefits they deserve to try to live fully and fulfilling lives and to, be part of their community, part of their family, part of contributing. I think that it's a lot less than what we see out there. Sure, it's out there, but I really don't think it's as widespread as I know for a fact that IHSS is under 1%. Like fraud is under 1%.
I mean, you do have someone come do an assessment at your house for that, right? Just as for our transportation system and all of that. And the thing is that high rate of denial for benefits, for services is so discouraging. And you're thinking, I'm going to call them and they're going to help me. Well, a lot of people, after the first rejection, it's like, it's not worth it, But it's the person who keeps calling every day, every week, sending messages, and until somebody hears you, somebody sees you, that, squeaky wheel, that gets through that. And it's a shame. It really is a shame.
It is a shame for people that, especially impairments that people don't understand, like autism or something that's invisible. It's difficult. But even now, because spinal cord injuries have become more visible in society, people look at you and say, well, you can move your hands, right? So you don't need this. And
Yeah.
I'll be like, yes, but I'm a quad and I don't sweat. So if you leave me in the sun for an hour, I will stroke out and die. They don't see that, right? They're only looking with very ableist eyes and are not really assessing individual situations.
Exactly.
I think part of that has, and I love AI, don't get me wrong. I think AI is amazing in many ways. It can be a great assistant. But when they're flagging, I mean, I think that now instead of getting, like, I used to have the same counselor every year, same person. And we would work and talk. And now it's a different person every time I'm audited, and a different person I talk to every time. And there is no personal connection anymore to truly understand each individual situation. I think that's really a problem.
Something to consider when you're having to go through an assessment for any type of business, service, or benefit. I actually learned this when I was a client advocate for clients of the Department of Rehab way back when. When they come assess you, if the skill they're testing you for, if you can't do that throughout the day for a whole day, you can't do that task. Because if you say, oh, well, I only need help in the morning for this or whatever. Oh, yeah, I can do this, when I'm first get up. But by the evening, my hands are so stiff, I can't even grab anything. So it's not malingering. It's just being realistic of what you personally know that you can do. If you can't do it all the time, then you can't do it. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, my thing is if on your worst day you can't do this, then you can't do it, because you're going to have your worst day. You're going to need that support there more often than you think.
Exactly.
I'm talking about insurance, and Andrew, we hope that you're feeling well with your open heart surgery. But talking also about the denial of devices. Oh yeah, you've got to find the right medical service provider. I mean, my guy is, I don't know how he gets what approved, but like, I stick with whoever is making it work. It's so hard. It is denied all the time. And then Leah asked, like, what is our advice for people with visible disabilities going on job interviews? And mine is, look the best that you can. Understand, know as much about the job before you go. Like anybody, do your research, present yourself respectively. Don't oversell yourself. Don't say you can do things you can't. Be honest that I can do this long, but I'm going to need this to do that. You don't have to oversell your accommodations either.
No.
Find that balance that is realistic and you're authentic. Dress well. I will say linguism, which is an ism against people who don't speak clear, articulate English, is a very real that is
absolutely
in the job market. So practice what you're saying. The more articulate you are,
yes,
the more
and
they're
practice with someone. Practice with someone who is actually, playing the role of the employer, and ask those difficult questions. Then, and the more you answer them, the more you think of them, the better prepared you'll be when you go in.
Yeah.
Does DR have any more? Way back when I went through Department of Rehab, they had these like little classes, to get back to work, and they videotaped you while you had a mock interview. They interviewed you in person with actual DR employees, and so it just kind of gave you that confidence before you went in. They helped you put your resume together. They helped you, as Ellen say, kind of learn how to speak properly for that particular interview and all of that. So I don't know if that's still a thing. Okay, good.
They do. So DR still has tickets to work. Social Security has tickets to work. You can also do a plan for self-support where you can take your money, SSI or SSDI, and put it away to pay for college with a plan to work after you get out of college. And then they take that $2,600 of your SSDI and give you money to live on each month. There are a lot of programs, but you have to be able to find them and work them. And that is where those, where you worked, Michele, the center independent centers can help you with that. I just saw this, Leon Chandler. I would just like to Chanel. I'm sorry, Chanel Chandler. Her name is Chanel, or their name is Chanel. 36 years to get SSDI. Sometimes that's it. If you start working right away, it can be disastrous to try to get on it. It's even harder. The system is not designed to make it easy. And I just saw something out of advocacy of trying. United Spinal is signed today. It ends today. Go to United Spinal. It ends today to sign to get the politicians to have Medicare pay for standing frames. So Leon just said to get a standing frame on the chair is a luxury, but there is a big a signing going on, a political activist thing going on with United Spinal about you can sign up until today, get your name on that to tell your congressman. Standing is not a luxury. There is also how sitting all the time is bad for your body. Standing is essential for us to maintain health, flexibility, etc. And they should be on there. So that's the amazing thing.
The other thing is that a lot of medically necessary equipment does not qualify. When I was first injured, I got everything I needed, the padded shower bench, the padded commode, the this, the that. A few years later, they considered a padded shower bench or commode a luxury. They only paid for those hard plastic ones where you scrape your ass trying to slide across them to take a shower, So unfortunately, that aspect has gotten worse as far as what they do qualify, and all major insurance companies base theirs on what Medi-Cal, Medicare offer,
And my thing, even if you stop using something, keep getting it. Because once you stop getting it, you may never get it back. So, you can donate extra supplies to Triumph. You can donate them to friends, etc. But, just because you don't need it this year doesn't mean that next year you're not going to need 3 packs of pads, right?
Or whatever,
or whatever it is. And Andrew makes a good point of making sure like even in job interviews, like Leah pointed out, that what your needs are. Be honest about your needs and authentic. You don't have to build them up to be like, they're hard to meet. You can just say, when I go to the bathroom, a 10-minute break is not going to be long enough. It's just 10 minutes is not enough. Can I do 2 breaks at this time so that I can have 20 minutes and not feel like I'm rushing to go to the bathroom?
Exactly. And that's something that you can work with through your employer to tell them that, it is medically necessary. I need 20 minutes, to take a bathroom break and whatever. Because otherwise, if they're, you've got 10 minutes and you're rushing and what happens when you're rushing and not really paying attention? You fall, you hurt yourself, because you're trying to do it so fast and you're not focusing on what you're doing. So yeah, definitely stand up for that bathroom break.
Yeah, got it.
And also going back,
accessible. Even if they're accessible, they're not your bathroom at home.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, things are spaced differently. The bars are all around the thing, but you can't reach any of them and all of that. So yeah, lots to consider. Also going back to spinal. What's their name here? United Spinal. In this month's issue, there's an article called Navigating the Journey Back to Work with a Ticket to Work program. So if you're not familiar, this is in the New Mobility magazine this month. If you don't receive their actual magazine, you can read articles online. If you do subscribe to be a member, which doesn't require a fee or anything, they will send you the magazine for free kind of every other month.
Until December. December is the last hard copy issue of New Mobility.
Oh, it is. Okay. Well,
I will have an article about Greece in there, but that'll be the last hard copy issue. But digitally, whether digitally or online, New Mobility has amazing resources and people that are working and doing things. Yeah. It's not an easy journey, and it takes. You have to become your biggest advocate, and you have to keep. I have Social Security letters from 40 years ago. I have never thrown away a letter from Social Security because I have gone back to one person told me this and another person is telling me something else. And I went back and I said, no, they told me this. And
Yeah.
because I was told that, I was able to get those accommodations. And,
Wow, that's good to know. And the thing too, it's like, have them put it in writing. Send you an email so you have proof of what
Yeah,
they
that's
told you.
smart.
Yeah, because if they can say whatever and you don't have proof, you can't go back and say, well, so and so told me that
Yeah,
I
that's
did
kind of like
lie or whatever. Sorry,
go ahead.
Mickie. All right, you froze on us, Mickie. And another really important thing: talk to the people you know. Talk to your peers who've been through it, who's done it,
I didn't say anything.
fought for it. I use Ellen as the Social Security expert that I refer everyone to because she's been through it all, from when she started as a student and managing the benefits and all of that then to working, all these years and stuff. So ask people you know. Yes, Mickie? Oop. No.
No, I didn't say anything.
Okay, sorry. We want to make sure
I know.
Michele and I can be chatty Cathy's here, and
Yeah.
we don't. We sort of talk about everything, about all of it. It is a struggle, and it is psychologically taxing. It is. Again, I think I said this before in the show. My favorite quote that I really live by is, "Everything will be okay in the end. If it isn't okay, it isn't the end."
There you go. Wow, that's a great one.
Through writing that letter. Again, if they don't give you a letter in writing, you write back to them and say, as per my conversation with Michele at 3:59 on 10/3/2024,
Exactly.
this is what we discussed. And then you send that to Michele or to the worker or put it in your file.
Yeah.
And you take the responsibility of documenting what was discussed. Now, when they come back years from now and say, I didn't say that, you say, well, I sent that to you on 3. Why the hell didn't you say you didn't say it then? Now, because it's coming up, I don't want to say that. Yeah. When I went to my hearing, they literally submitted 256 pages of documents for the judge to see. I went through those 256 pages and I made a table and I said, page 1 is accurate. Page 2.
No. Yeah.
Wow.
Whoop. We lost you, Ellen. Hello. Ellen, we can't hear you at all.
Is it on now?
There you go.
Michele, maybe you should give the.
Sorry, it's the new microphone, and I can't hit it.
Should do the maybe you should do the sponsors now since it's time to go.
Well, we were a little late, but I just want to ask one last time, though, are there any questions about there at work, or if somebody wants one last thing to say out in our groups out there, because we have 13 this week. That's my lucky number because my daughter was born on the 13th. But anybody else have questions? I mean, as Michele says, I've been doing this a long time, negotiating it and keeping my benefits and dealing with people saying, oh, you're a Medi baby because I still have my benefits. And I'm like, because if I ever lose them, I do not know if I'll get them back. Yeah. That is the fear I have lived with for 40 years. So I maintain them and I create balance and opportunities so that I can make money and live fully because, and finding a good medical supply company that knows how to write the stuff up to get it covered. That is key. And there's amazing ones out there.
And the doctor has to be very specific when they write that prescription about what you need and how much you need, because they'll reject it if it's not what they want to, nope, we didn't get all the information we needed, or this isn't the right thing or whatever. So make sure when your doctor's writing that prescription, you read it and you tell them what needs to be on there. So
yeah.
And talking to whoever your vendor is, I mean, they know what language needs to be used and how it has to be worded in order to be approved. So talk to them first, then talk to your doctor and have them write up an appropriate prescription for you.
And often your vendor will talk to the doctor. Often the vendor will write it up for the doctor and say,
yeah,
we find this.
Give them a
because
little
the
template
vendors
of.
really know they know what language needs to be done. The doctors can be amazing. And I will say most doctors want to support you and get you the equipment you need. I really do believe that.
Very
Yes, good
true.
county worker and a good doctor, Leon, I'm saying everybody's last name. Leon, good county worker and a good doctor are necessary. When you find the ones that work and work with you, it can make all the difference in the world. It really is. But also triumph, as Michele said, your peers, your colleagues, go to these support groups. There are people that know so much, and their lived experiences can be, essential for you getting what you need.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Thank you guys for joining us.
Black Olive, just 1 second. How much insurance would
All
they
right.
have spent if they didn't approve your immediate needs? So much. I mean, I'm just going to tell you, my new wheelchair, the price that it came home with was $22,000. Right? That's
Oh,
what
that's
they didn't get
insane.
paid. That they got paid like $16,000 or $13,000 for it.
Of that.
But the cost that was charged was over $22,000 for a wheelchair. So yeah, craziness. It takes so much money. They would say that they would just give it to us, then we could contribute, we could work, we could pay taxes, we could
Absolutely
pay a buy-in to our medical to maintain sure we keep it. But you gotta, you gotta give us the support to work.
Yeah, and you have to have the appropriate wheelchair if you're going out to work to protect your skin, your arms, everything, how you push, how long you sit, and all of that. So get the right cushion you need, get everything that you need to be able to do the job you're going back to.
And our urological supplies, we have an amazing sponsor for our show that does provide the urological supplies, because those are really important to get the right things to go to the bathroom, because I think that's sometimes the number one thing that freaks us out is, can I pee? Can I go to the bathroom? 60,000, Leon says his new chair is going to be. And Leah says, let's not forget the Over the Line tournament and the Pasadena Sports Festival coming up with the Triumph Foundation. Amazing opportunities to meet peers, to try new sports, to see even the equipment that other people are using. You will see life hacks that they use. You will see equipment that they use. It is amazing. $60,000 for a new chair. That is like, a down payment, at least, well, not in LA, but could be a down payment for having a house somewhere. That's just insane. That's Sean. Can we have our sponsors? And I'll let Michele share the sponsors.
Okay, thank you to our very generous sponsors, mobility professionals and urology professionals. I know one of the partners has been a wheelchair user for many, many years, so they know what the needs are, and trust them with your business. Okay. Just to know, the Over the Line is October 12th. at Pioneer Park in Anaheim. Go to triumphfoundation.org to get more details or to register to attend.
And play.
All right. Okay.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you, guys.
Really appreciate everybody's comments and insights.
Absolutely.